Hello, thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, an Israeli is killed for another terror attack. Israel sets out on a mission to solve an ancient puzzle, and some Israeli wedding crashers liven up an American wedding. I'm Natasha Kirchuk here with the latest news in Israel. An Israeli man is dead after a terror attack in the West Bank this afternoon. The 31-year-old civilian died after he was struck by a stray IDF bullet, which was fired during an attempted stabbing attack at the Gush Etzion junction. The reserve officer Eliav Galman was mistakenly shot when Israeli forces attempted to shoot down a Palestinian attacker with a knife. The assailant has now been identified as a Palestinian 26-year-old from Hebron, and he allegedly attempted to stab an Israeli at a hitchhiking post in the intersection. IDF forces at the scene opened fire on the terrorist, hitting and moderately wounding him. In the process, Galman was hit by a stray bullet and eventually succumbed to his wounds in a Jerusalem hospital. The young victim was discharged only a few months ago from the military. The president of Kenya is in Jerusalem this week for landmark talks with the Israeli Prime Minister to combat terror. The Israeli and Kenyan leaders have already signed several agreements that aim to increase cooperation between the two countries. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says the two countries have had close relations for decades. Kenya's former president helped Israel during the Entebbe raid to free Israeli hostages, and he happens to be the father of the current Kenyan president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Kenyatta claims that Kenya is currently facing similar security concerns to Israel. The leaders have signed a number of agreements this week in areas like water and agriculture, cyber energy, public health, and the war on terrorism. Prime Minister Netanyahu says bilateral cooperation is necessary to combat terrorism.
Both our peoples have suffered at the hands of these brutal terrorists. We have no illusions about them. They want to murder our people. And we know that this is a common battle that we share with you, and we're prepared to do a great deal more. In fact, Israel is willing and prepared to work with African countries in our common battle against militant Islamic terrorism. I have to say that more and more African countries recognize what you recognize, that Israel is a unique partner against this extremism, that Israel is a unique partner in the way that we can work together to seize the opportunities of the future.
Netanyahu and Kenyatta apparently have a very close relationship and speak regularly on the phone. The Kenyan leader says that Kenya is looking forward to strengthening its cooperation with Israel.
We have no room for extremism. We must do everything that we can to protect the freedoms and the beliefs and the principles and the common values that we share. And we look forward to further strengthening our cooperation in the security area. We look forward to partnering with you and with the rest of the world in combating violent extremism.
Israeli President Rivlin also hosted an official reception for the Kenyan leader and says he stands with Kenya in its fight against radical Islam.
The leading role you play in the peace talks across Africa is a sign of your responsibility to your region and your commitment to peace. I salute you. I salute you with the old people of Israel and the Kenya people, and I salute the Kenya people for this strong leadership. Mr. President, Israel is proud of the cooperation between our two peoples.
Kenya, also like Israel, is faced by numerous security challenges which require attention and resources to confront. It is therefore my wish that the cooperation on security matters and sharing of intelligence between our two states is heightened to meet the new and increased threats. Indeed, it is my sincere hope that this visit of mine will cement the bonds that are already strong that link our two countries. Let me assure you, Mr. President, that we in Kenya hold Israel as a dear and very special friend.
You've probably heard of the popular vacation rental company Airbnb. It's one of the most popular options for tourists who are looking for a real taste of wherever they're traveling, instead of staying in a normal hotel. Now, Israeli settlers in the West Bank are renting out rooms to tourists, and they say it's helping the world see the political reality of the area. Jewish settlers say they're using Airbnb to help bring awareness to the situation in the West Bank. The Israeli settlements continue to be one of the most controversial topics in modern Israeli politics, and have been the source of major tension between Israel and the international community. Now settlers say they want guests to see the settlements with their own eyes and get a real feel for life in the West Bank.
People who want to come through Airbnb, for example, they see a map of Israel, they know exactly where they're going to. I'll tell you more than that. And people who want to come and understand Israel's politics, we invite them to come to us, because the only way to understand the political situation and to touch different political issues is to come and spend a day in the heartland, in a Jewish community, and to speak people to people and to understand the local perspectives.
Airbnb is known for its unique housing options in more than 190 countries. It might be surprising, but the West Bank is a pretty popular destination for the company's guests. There are dozens of Israeli and Palestinian listings in the West Bank, and the Jewish hosts say that everyone is welcome. The Jewish Settlement Council claims they host almost 250,000 foreign tourists every year, and they believe Airbnb is helping change perspectives about the West Bank.
The good thing that came out of it is that there are more people now who know there are bed and breakfast options in Judea and Samaria. You can find them on Airbnb and you can come and spend the night in our area. As they say, no publicity is bad publicity, so there you go.
It looks like Israel is on a mission to solve the world's ultimate jigsaw puzzle. Israel has just announced a new project aimed at piecing together the fragments of the 2,000-year-old Dead Sea Scrolls. The ancient texts have mystified experts since they were discovered in the 1940s and 1950s. Now, Israel's new $1.75 million plan will use the latest technology to identify connections between the fragments. Key scholars and computer science experts are hoping to publish digital editions of the Sea Scrolls that can be updated as their research evolves. The scrolls are thought to have been written or collected by Jews who left Jerusalem for the desert during the time of the Second Temple, which was over 2,000 years ago. They supposedly contain lots of information about ancient Judaism, the birth of Christianity, and the evolution of the Bible. Israel might just be the right country to select for your destination wedding. An American couple who came to Israel to get married were worried about not having enough guests. But it turns out Israelis love to crash weddings. Judd and Maayan traveled all the way to Israel to celebrate their wedding in Haifa, but they found themselves with a pretty short guest list. Luckily, some guests from a bat mitzvah just across their wedding hall noticed the party was pretty empty. They started making posts on Facebook inviting Israelis to come to the nuptials to cheer up the lonely bride and groom. The wedding party started out with only 20 guests, but the American couple were caught by surprise when over 100 more Israelis from around the country started to show up. The effort was a huge success, and Judd and Maayan were reportedly ecstatic with how the party turned out. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. After our last story, it's pretty clear how much Israelis love to celebrate. So today's word is chatuna, which means wedding in Hebrew. If you think you know how to throw a good party, then you'll definitely appreciate how Israelis celebrate weddings. An Israeli chatuna is usually a huge event, and it's not surprising for there to be 400 or 500 guests. So it's easy to imagine why Israelis really look forward to weddings. If you're going through a rough patch, an Israeli might reassure you with the common phrase, "Ad hachatuna ze ya'avor," which basically means by the time your wedding rolls around, everything will work out. And it better, because if it's happening in Israel, there will be a lot of dancing to keep up with. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Thursday is expected to be mostly sunny with a high of 73 degrees. The sun should be even stronger on Friday, but the temperature is expected to stay the same. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.92 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv, and don't forget to check out our evening update every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tonight.